For years, Pi's value was just a number in online debates. People speculated endlessly, with some convinced it would change their lives, while others dismissed it as wishful thinking. The community buzzed with predictions, memes, and heated arguments about what Pi could one day be worth. IOUs traded on grey markets hovered around $30, fueling hope. These unofficial trades gave many a sense of legitimacy, as if the dream was already within reach. Stories spread of people holding on to their IOUs, convinced they were holding a ticket to a brighter future. But in early 2026, that hope collapsed. The long-awaited moment of reality arrived, and it was nothing like what the community had imagined. The price crashed to 17 cents, a brutal awakening for millions. Overnight, the value people had dreamed about evaporated, leaving shock and disbelief in its place. Dreams of wealth evaporated overnight. For many, years of anticipation and planning vanished in an instant, replaced by disappointment and regret. Forums once filled with optimism turned to panic and anger. The mood shifted rapidly as hopeful posts gave way to frustration, blame, and confusion. Years of daily taps now felt wasted. The ritual that once brought excitement now seemed pointless, a reminder of time and energy lost. The Pi network, once seen as different, was caught in the same downward spiral as the rest of crypto. Hopes of a revolution faded, replaced by the harsh reality of a volatile market. The 17-cent price became a symbol of broken promises. It was a number that haunted the community, a constant reminder of what could have been. For many, it was more than a number. It was the end of a dream. The sense of loss was personal, touching everyone who had believed in the vision. The community's faith was shaken to its core. Doubt replaced certainty, and the once united group now faced an uncertain future. The silence that followed was deafening. Where there was once constant chatter, now there was only quiet reflection and unanswered questions. Pioneers were left questioning if their digital gold was just fool's gold, wondering if all their effort had been for nothing, and searching for meaning in the aftermath. Between February and April 2026, chaos swept the crypto world. Bitcoin, after peaking at $126,000, crashed to just over $60,000. Panic replaced confidence and volatility ruled. Ethereum, Dogecoin, Solana all plunged alongside Bitcoin. Even massive institutional investments couldn't stop the bleeding. The crash exposed the market's fragility. For everyday investors, it was terrifying. The dream of a new financial system seemed to crumble. In this storm, smaller projects like Pi stood no chance. As Western markets reeled, the source of the shock was China. Rumors swirled. China was developing a gold-backed digital yuan. The US Treasury warned this could challenge the dollar's dominance. China had been quietly stockpiling gold and experimenting with digital assets in Hong Kong. The idea of a gold-backed digital currency was a geopolitical game-changer. Investors were spooked. What would this mean for crypto? China's moves created a storm of uncertainty. The world watched as the balance of financial power shifted. The fear of a new, state-backed digital currency fueled the market panic. China's gambit was a catalyst for the crash. In crypto, when Bitcoin crashes, everything else follows. Pi's drop to 17 cents was part of a larger collapse. The market is a pyramid. When the top crumbles, the base is crushed. Investors, facing losses, dumped risky assets like Pi first. Panic spread as belief in crypto itself was shaken. The hopeful Pi narrative was drowned out by fear. Pi's fall wasn't just its own failure, it was collateral damage. Ethereum, Dogecoin, and others fell too. The crash was a systemic shock, not just a pie problem. No project was safe from the storm. As China made bold moves, the US responded. The Trump administration saw crypto as a new front in its rivalry with China. The US created a Bitcoin strategic reserve, holding billions in seized coins. Rumors swirled that the government was buying the dip during the crash. Treasury officials clarified the US wasn't bailing out Bitcoin, just holding what it had. Still, the message was clear. The US was committed to digital dominance. Unlike China's state-backed approach, America bet on decentralized assets. But investors were on their own in the chaos. The US played the long game, signaling support, but refusing to intervene. The digital arms race was on. The market had to find its own footing. In the chaos, experts and billionaires weighed in. Ray Dalio warned of the dollar's decline and rising global tensions. Analysts saw China's gold-backed digital currency as a seismic shift. Dan Morehead predicted a global arms race for Bitcoin. Breaking key price levels triggered panic selling. The crash was driven by both technical breakdowns and geopolitical fears. Experts confirmed what small investors feared. Powerful forces were now in control. For pie holders, these warnings explained the 17-cent price. The crash wasn't random, it was a symptom of a world in flux. Ordinary people were caught in the crossfire of giants. In the Philippines, Maria, a dedicated schoolteacher, still taps her Pi app every morning, just as she has for years. Even as the world around her changes, this small ritual remains a source of hope and routine. She's watched the price crash, seen the numbers fall, and heard the doubts from friends and family. But her faith in Pi remains unshaken, rooted in something deeper than just price. For Maria, Pi is about the long-term vision, a future where digital currency empowers ordinary people. She's not here for quick profits, but for the possibility of real change. In Nigeria, David leads a group of pioneers, urging patience and unity. He gathers his community, reminding them that every movement faces setbacks before it succeeds. He reminds them, the mainnet isn't open yet, and the IOU price is just noise, not the true measure of Pi's potential. The real journey, he says, is just beginning. Across the world, a core community holds on, connected by hope and a shared belief in the project's promise. They point to millions of users, ongoing development, and the tireless work of developers building something new. The crash is seen as a test of faith, separating true believers from speculators. Those who stay are driven by conviction, not just the hope of quick gains. Pi was never a get-rich-quick scheme. It was a social experiment, a way to see if people could build value together from the ground up. For these pioneers, the dream is still alive. They look to the future with hope, believing their patience will one day be rewarded. They wait for the day Pi can buy a coffee, pay for a service, or simply be used in everyday life, proof that their belief was not in vain. That, to them, is real value, a currency that works for everyone, everywhere. And so they're willing to wait, no matter how long it takes, holding on to hope in a world full of doubt. Within the Pi community, one number stands out: 314,159 lis. It's a symbol of the ultimate dream, a coin worth more than Bitcoin. To outsiders, it seems absurd, especially after the crash to 17 cents. But for true believers, it's an article of faith. They argue that scarcity and a massive user base could drive value. If the community refuses to sell cheap, maybe the dream survives. The crash has widened the gap between hope and reality. Is this the end, or just a test for the faithful? The future of pi hangs between market reality and collective belief.